Every movement that has ever shaped history, every revolution that ever disrupted the status quo, every unstoppable wave that changed lives, it didn't start with instructions. It didn't begin with a how, the manual. It started with a vision. One person, one leader, who saw something the rest of the world didn't. Someone who believed in what could be when no one else dared to imagine it. That's the difference between giving people directions and giving them a destination worth chasing with their soul. Because direction alone doesn't stir the heart, it doesn't pull people out of bed at 4 a.m., it doesn't light up that fire in their gut that says, I was made for more than this. People don't rise for direction. They rise for a dream, they rise for vision and great leaders. The rare few who create movements, they understand this. They don't just point and say, go over there. They don't issue commands from the top of a hierarchy and expect obedience. No, they paint a picture with their words, a picture so clear, so compelling, so emotionally charged that people can see it in their own minds, feel it in their own bones. They speak not to the logic of the mind, but to the conviction of the spirit. Because here's the truth. Most people are walking through life blindfolded, numb, distracted, stuck in routine. They don't lack capability, they lack clarity, and when someone shows up and says, I see a better future, and I see you in it, that does something to a person. That wakes them up. That's what the greatest leaders do. They wake people up, not by force, not by fear, but by vision. Think about it. Every life changing movement didn't start because someone gave the most efficient directions. It started because someone stood up and spoke a vision into existence. They created belief where there was doubt. They made people feel something. That's what moves people. Not strategy, not spreadsheets, not steps 1 through 10. It's the feeling behind the mission, because you don't lead people with information. You lead them with inspiration. If you want to create a movement, you have to see what others can't see and have the courage to say it out loud before anyone else believes it. Even when they laugh, even when they doubt, even when you're the only one standing there looking crazy, because that's what vision is. It's a form of spiritual courage. It's deciding to stand for something invisible and believe in it so hard that it eventually becomes reality. You can give people directions and they might follow you for a while, but the second it gets hard, the second life throws a punch, they'll stop. Why? Because direction has no emotional foundation. It's just motion without meaning. But when people buy into the vision, when they see their own reflection inside of it, now it's not about you, the leader, it's about them, they've owned it. And when people own the vision, they'll fight for it like it's personal. They'll go to war for it, they'll bleed for it, they'll do whatever it takes, and the best part, you don't need to be the loudest, you don't need to be the most educated, you don't need to have the biggest following or the fanciest title. You just need to see it first. You just need to believe it first, because belief is contagious, and when you speak with conviction, people feel it. When your eyes light up as you describe the future, people begin to see through your vision what they couldn't see through their own fear. That's the transfer. That's the moment leadership becomes movement. See, there are people out there waiting for you to see more than they can, waiting for you to speak the words they can't find, waiting for someone bold enough to say, I know this is where we are, but this is where we're going, and I'm not leaving until we get there. They're not waiting for your plan. They're waiting for your certainty. Because when a leader steps into the room with vision, everything shifts. The energy changes, the room wakes up, the team rises. Why? Because they're in the presence of someone who sees the invisible. That's what great leaders do. They see it before it exists. They believe in it before there's evidence, and that belief it transmits. It multiplies. When a leader casts a powerful vision, it gives the people something to belong to. And belonging is the deepest human need there is. That's what makes it a movement. Not when people do what you say, but when they become what you see. But here's the catch. Vision without action is fantasy. And action without vision is just chaos. You need both. You need to see it so clearly that every step you take screams with purpose. And when people see you moving like that, when they see you walk into the storm without blinking, when they see you make sacrifices no one else is willing to make. They start to believe that maybe, just maybe, this vision could be real. That's when your movement begins to breathe, the moment you stop waiting for permission, the moment you stop trying to copy other people's path, the moment you own what you see and speak it into the world with fire. You're leading. And don't be surprised if, at first, no one claps. Don't be shocked when they don't get it. The vision was given to you, not them. You were chosen to carry it. And it's your job to make it so compelling, so alive, so magnetic, that people have no choice but to look up and say, I want to be part of that. Every powerful movement you admire was born this way. Someone dared to dream out loud. Someone refused to shrink their voice just because others couldn't yet see what they saw. Someone said, this is where we're going, and I won't stop until we get there. So I'll ask you this. What vision are you carrying right now that you've been too afraid to speak? What picture do you see that you've been watering down so others won't judge you? What truth have you been sitting on, hoping someone else will say it first? Because you might be the leader someone else is waiting on, and movements don't need more managers, they need visionaries. Movements don't need more people telling others what to do. They need people who know where they're going and have the passion and certainty to take others with them. You can learn strategies all day long. You can read leadership books, take courses, get coached, memorize systems. But if you don't have vision, you're building a structure without a soul. And when the pressure comes, and it will, only vision can hold the weight of what's coming next. So lead with vision, not just direction. Lead from that place inside you that burns, not the place that calculates, because when your voice carries vision, the world leans in. And when your heart is on fire with purpose, people will come to watch you burn, with hope, not destruction. With hunger, not fear, they'll follow you, not because you have all the answers, but because you had the courage to see what they couldn't, and the conviction to go first. That's what creates a movement. Information doesn't change lives. Let me say that again, louder this time. Information does not change lives. If that were the case, the most successful, fulfilled, powerful people in the world would be librarians. Everyone would be fit, wealthy, confident, and full of purpose, because the information is everywhere, free, endless, at your fingertips. You can Google your way through any problem, ask AI for any blueprint, watch YouTube for every step by step. And yet, so many people stay stuck, miserable, lost. Why? Because the transformation doesn't happen in the mind first. It happens in the identity. It happens in the belief of who you are and who you're meant to become. That's the real secret of great leadership. That's how true movements are built, not on facts, not on figures, not on bullet points or spreadsheets, but on the invisible force that shapes every behavior a human being takes. Identity. Because people will fight for an identity they want to believe about themselves, and they will resist anything, even good information, that doesn't align with how they see themselves. This is why you can give someone the perfect advice, the perfect plan, the perfect opportunity, and they'll still sabotage it. It's not because the path is wrong. It's because they are not yet the kind of person who believes they belong on it. And great leaders, the kind that create movements, they know this. So they don't focus on shoving more information into people's minds. They focus on unlocking belief in people's hearts. They speak to identity. They help people see themselves differently. They pull people out of their low standards, out of their limiting self-image, and say, you are not what happened to you. You are not your current circumstances. You are not your trauma, your mistake, your lack, your past. You are becoming something greater. That kind of leadership. That creates emotional oxygen, that creates hope, that releases people from their prison, not by handing them a map, but by reminding them who they are. And when someone starts to see themselves through the lens of a new identity, they change. Not temporarily, not when it's convenient, but at the core, and that's when the movement takes hold. Because movements are not built when people follow rules. They're built when people become part of something bigger than themselves. And that begins when the leader helps them see themselves as part of the story. You want to create real change. You want to lead something bigger than a team, a business, a brand. Start speaking to who people are, not just what they should do. Because here's the truth that nobody's telling you. People are not logical creatures. They're emotional. They don't move toward the best argument. They move toward what aligns with how they want to feel about themselves. They want to feel significant, strong, brave, capable, chosen. They want to feel like they belong somewhere that matters, and when you, as the leader, create a culture where people feel like winners just by showing up, they will stay. They will fight. They will rise, not for you, but for who they get to become when they're with you. That's what people crave. A mirror that reflects the best version of themselves. That's what great leaders are. Mirrors. You don't just tell people what to do. You show them who they can be. Let me give it to you straight. People don't follow products. People don't follow paychecks. People don't follow slogans or strategies. They follow identity. They follow a leader who makes them feel like they're somebody, like their presence matters, like they were meant to be here. And when someone begins to say, "This is who I am now," everything changes. Their standards rise, their habits evolve, their circle shifts. Their drive goes from 30% to 130%. Why? Because it's not a task anymore, it's not a goal, it's not a to-do list. It's who they are, and nothing in life is more powerful than when behavior aligns with identity. This is how movements multiply. This is how a single vision turns into an army of believers. Because it's not about the information you give them, it's about the identity you awaken in them. Think about the movements that have changed the world. Civil rights, women's rights, health revolutions, spiritual awakenings. It wasn't about who had the best data. It wasn't about who memorized the most quotes. It was about people claiming a new identity. I am equal, I am worthy, I am powerful, I am free, I am a leader, I am a warrior, I am unstoppable. That's what fuels transformation. That's what fuels consistency. That's what fuels loyalty. Because when someone sees the movement as part of who they are, they don't quit when it's hard. They don't fold when it's inconvenient. They don't ask for motivation every day. They show up because they don't know how not to. That's what you're building. That's the fire you're lighting. But you've got to go first. You can't call people into a new identity if you're still living in your old one. You can't expect people to buy into the highest version of themselves if you haven't bought into yours. So, what identity are you living in right now? Leader or imposter, creator or consumer, warrior or worrier? Because your movement will never outgrow the identity you hold for yourself. You've got to speak like someone who believes. You've got to walk like someone who owns it. You've got to lead like someone who's already there. Because when people see you owning your identity, it gives them permission to do the same. That's what people are watching. Not your skills, not your tactics, not your knowledge. They're watching your standard, your alignment, your identity, and the moment you walk into a room fully owning who you are, that energy, that presence, that certainty, people feel it, they want to follow it, they want to be part of it, because it's not just about results, it's about resonance. People don't want to just win. They want to win while being true to who they are. And the only way they'll do that is if you, as the leader, create an environment where that version of them is not only possible, but expected. You create that culture by speaking identity into your people. By telling them, over and over, this is who we are, this is what we stand for, this is what we don't tolerate, this is what we're building, and repeating it until they stop asking, what do I do? And start saying, this is who I am now. That's the shift. That's the leadership that transforms lives. That's the difference between a manager and a movement maker. Managers teach skills. Movements shape identity. Managers push people. Movements pull people into alignment. Managers say, here's what to do. Movements say, here's who we are. And you don't need to be perfect to do this. You just need to be real. You just need to live your truth out loud. Because when you live it, when you breathe it, when you carry it into every conversation, every room, every challenge, people feel safe stepping into it too. And that's how you win. That's how you lead. Not by giving more information, but by elevating identity. Because when you shift the way people see themselves, they'll never go back, and neither will you. There's a different energy that lives inside the ones who go all the way. A different spirit, a different intensity. You feel it when they speak. You feel it when they walk into a room. You feel it before they say a word. It's not arrogance. It's not noise. It's certainty. And it comes from belief so deep, so real, so unshakable. It's obsession, level. And this is the part most people miss. People don't follow the most qualified person. They follow the most certain. The one who believes with such conviction, it spills out of them. It leaks into the atmosphere, it infects the room, and before long, that obsession, level belief becomes contagious. That's how movements are born, because the truth is, no one will ever believe in your vision more than you do. No one will ever fight harder for your mission than you're willing to. You set the tone, you set the bar, you light the fire, and you've got to burn hotter than anyone else. You've got to be obsessed with what you're building. Not interested, not committed when it's convenient, but obsessed, possessed by the purpose, so locked in that there's no plan B, no exit, no backdoor. It's forward or nothing. People feel that. They see it in your eyes. They hear it in your voice. They recognize the difference between someone who's kind of excited and someone who's on fire. And trust me, people don't follow lukewarm. They follow heat. They follow energy. They follow certainty, because here's the reality. Most people are drowning in doubt. Doubt about themselves, doubt about their future, doubt about the world. And when they come across someone who has zero doubt, it's magnetic. It's rare. It's what they're starving for. That's your job as a leader, to model belief so pure, so consistent, so all in, that it awakens something in the people around you, that it raises the standard of what's possible, that it transfers courage into those who forgot they had any left. But here's what you've got to understand. This kind of belief doesn't come from talent. It doesn't come from titles. It doesn't come from being the smartest person in the room. It comes from decision, a decision to believe when you have no reason to, a decision to trust the vision when no one else does yet, a decision to keep walking when every voice around you says, turn back. That's obsession, level belief. And it's the price of admission to lead something meaningful, because people are watching, every day, every moment. They're watching how you respond when things go wrong, when the results don't show up. When the progress is slow, when the critics get louder, when the fear creeps in, they're not looking to see how perfect you are. They're looking to see if you still believe, because if you stop believing, they never will. If you hesitate, they'll quit. But if you stay locked in even when it's dark, even when it's lonely, even when it looks like it's not working, that models a belief deeper than words. That models obsession. That says, this isn't about hype. This is about who I am. This is what I was born to do. And I don't need permission, applause, or proof to keep going. You want to lead. You want to create a movement that wakes people up, that pulls them out of mediocrity, that changes lives. Then your belief better be louder than their doubt. And that means you don't just talk it. You live it. You show up earlier than everyone else. You stay later. You sacrifice more. You outwork, outlast, outbelieve every single person around you. You train like it's life or death. You speak like souls are on the line. You carry yourself like the mission is already accomplished, and you're just walking people to the finish line. Because when people see you operate like that, they don't just respect you. They trust you. They say, I don't know if I believe in myself yet, but I believe in them. I believe in their fire, and maybe if I stick close to them, I can catch it too. That's how belief transfers. That's how movements ignite. And I'll tell you this, you cannot fake obsession. You can fake energy, you can fake positivity, you can fake knowledge, but you cannot fake belief. Belief is revealed in behavior. It's revealed in consistency. It's revealed in how you respond when the lights are off, when no one's watching, when the applause dies down and it's just you and your purpose. Do you still show up? Do you still believe? Do you still move like it's already done? Because that's what leadership is. It's not perfection. It's belief under pressure. It's certainty under chaos. It's fire under rain and that kind of obsession. It's earned, not given. It's built in the hard seasons. In the late nights, in the moments you wanted to quit but didn't, that's where belief becomes identity. Not just I believe in this mission, but this is who I am now. And that level of belief, that's when you become unstoppable. Not because the world gets easier, but because you get stronger, because you've decided you're not backing down, and when people see that in you, they rise. When people watch you burn with belief, they remember what it looks like to care that deeply. Because the truth is, most people don't need more information. They don't need another strategy. They don't need one more motivational quote. They need to see someone who actually believes, someone who walks like it's real, someone who doesn't flinch when it gets hard. That's who you're becoming. That's what you're modeling. And I'll tell you something else. The world doesn't change because of lukewarm leaders. It doesn't shift because of people who dabble. It changes when someone goes all in, when someone says, I'm willing to be misunderstood, I'm willing to be judged, I'm willing to walk alone if I have to, but I will not lower my belief. That's obsession. And people may not understand you, they might laugh, they might question you, but deep down, they're inspired because you remind them of what's possible. You remind them of who they used to be before the world taught them to settle. You remind them of the fire they buried, so don't water down your belief to make others comfortable. Don't shrink to fit into their idea of realistic. You were not born to be realistic. You were born to believe beyond reason. You were born to light the path for others, and that means living in obsession, not for attention, not for ego, but because the world is waiting for someone to show them what belief really looks like. And that someone is you, so stop second guessing, stop dialing it down, stop trying to convince people with words, let your belief speak through how you live, let your obsession show up in the way you work, the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you love, the way you lead. Because in a world full of doubt, the rarest thing anyone can witness is a human being who actually, fully, unshakably believes. And when you become that person, you don't just create change, you create a movement. If you really want to create a movement, if you really want to lead people in a way that lasts, if you want people to not just follow your words but fight for your mission like it's their own, then you have to understand this one truth. People don't want to be managed. They don't want to be fixed. They don't even want to be motivated. They want to be seen. At the deepest level of the human soul is a desire that's greater than the need for praise, greater than the need for comfort, greater even than the desire for success. It's the desire to matter, to know that their life is significant, that who they are makes a difference, that they are essential to something bigger than themselves. And this is what separates average leaders from movement makers. Average leaders speak at people, movement makers speak into people. They don't just give instructions. They give identity. They don't just assign tasks. They assign worth. They see the person behind the performance. Because most people walk through life feeling invisible, feeling replaceable, feeling like their effort goes unnoticed, their pain goes unspoken, their existence doesn't make an impact. And when someone comes along, someone like you, who not only notices them, but calls greatness out of them, everything changes. That moment becomes sacred, because it's not just about leadership. It's about restoring belief. You don't build loyalty by being the smartest in the room. You build loyalty by making people feel like they belong in the room. And when someone feels like they belong, like they're valuable, like they're needed, they don't just show up. They show up with heart. They show up with pride. They show up with a sense of ownership. That's when it stops being your movement and starts becoming theirs, because people will protect what they feel a part of. They'll fight for what they helped build. They'll stay when others leave because it's not just an organization. It's a family, it's an identity, but here's what most people get wrong. They think leadership is about being impressive, about being polished, about keeping a distance so people respect them. That's not leadership, that's ego dressed in a suit. True leadership, real movement leadership, is personal. It's not about impressing people. It's about impacting them. It's about walking into a room and making every single person feel like they matter. Not just because of what they can do, but because of who they are. Because you'll never influence someone you're not willing to see. Not just their role, not just their results, their heart, their story, their humanity, and that takes presence. It takes emotional intelligence. It takes putting your phone down, looking someone in the eye, and listening like they're the only person in the world in that moment. That kind of attention, that kind of presence, that's rare, that's power, that's leadership, because most people don't get that. Most people get brushed aside, talked over, dismissed. They get instructions from above, pressure from below, and appreciation from no one. So when you stop someone and say, "I see how hard you're working. I noticed you stayed late. You bring such a good energy to this team," or just, "I'm grateful for you," you're not just saying words. You're healing something in them. You're restoring value to someone who may have forgotten what it feels like to be appreciated. And I'll tell you this, that emotional deposit goes deeper than any paycheck ever will. Because people don't remember the metrics, they don't remember the meetings, they remember how you made them feel, they remember that in a world of noise you saw them, they remember that when they doubted themselves, you didn't. They remember that in their weakest moment you reminded them of their strength. That's leadership, not titles, not status, not performance reviews, connection, and that connection, it's not a soft skill. It's the core skill. It's what builds trust. It's what creates buy-in. It's what unlocks potential. Because when people feel safe emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, they begin to step into who they really are. They take risks, they speak up, they dream bigger, because they know they won't be shamed, silenced, or discarded. They know they matter, and you created that space. You led them there not by force, but by belief. Because you believed in them, not just the mission. You saw the gold in them when they only saw dirt. You called them higher, not with pressure, but with presence. You showed them that they are not just a cog in a machine. They are a vital piece of something meaningful. That's how movements are built, not through fear, not through compliance, not through manipulation, but through connection, through empathy, through seeing people in their humanity and still calling them to greatness. And don't think this means you can't be strong, that you can't set standards, that you can't challenge your people. Quite the opposite. Because when people feel seen and essential, they're more willing to be pushed. They trust your challenge because they know it comes from love, not ego. They don't see it as criticism. They see it as belief in action. That's the difference. That's why your words carry weight. Because they know you're not just trying to squeeze more out of them. You're trying to pour more into them. You're not building followers. You're building owners. And it starts with one question. Do the people around you feel seen? Not just evaluated. Not just used. Not just tolerated. Seen? Do they feel like they matter, even when they make mistakes? Do they feel safe enough to tell the truth? Do they feel like their contribution matters? Because if they don't, they will never give you their full heart. They might give you their time, they might give you their skill, but their soul will remain locked up, and the most powerful version of your movement will never come alive. So go first, see people, slow down. Ask questions, remember names, catch people doing the right things, not just the wrong ones. Celebrate them, acknowledge them. Remind them of what's good, what's strong, what's beautiful. Because sometimes that one word from you, that 5-second moment of recognition, can shift someone's entire trajectory. Because when someone feels essential, they show up with a different level of power. They show up like they're building their dream, not just following yours, and that's the goal. Not to build a fan base, but to build a family. Not to create a following, but to ignite a force that moves with you. You can't do that by shouting louder. You do it by seeing deeper, Because when someone feels seen, they feel safe, and when they feel safe, they become brave, and bravery is how you change the world. Repetition is the mother of mastery. Repetition is the heartbeat of transformation. Repetition is the secret that every world-class leader uses, but so few ever talk about, because here's the truth. Most people don't remember what you said the first time, or the second, or the 10th. They remember what you say the 100th time. After you've lived it, after you've proven it, after you've bled for it. Movements are not created through complexity. They are created through consistency. Through one message, repeated with unshakable belief, spoken so many times that it becomes impossible to ignore. So familiar that people start to believe it's who they are. This is how you build something that lasts. Because people forget, they drift, they get distracted, they get beat down by life, and the moment they step away from the energy of your voice, the moment they are outside the atmosphere of your belief, the world starts whispering lies again. You're not enough. You're too late. You're not capable. Who are you to try this? And your job as a leader is to be the voice that cuts through the noise, every single time, not once, not occasionally. Relentlessly. That's how great leaders lead. They don't change the message when it gets boring. They don't switch it up to be trendy. They don't water it down just to please everyone. They lock in. They decide what matters. And then they say it, show it, live it, until it's burned into the hearts of the people around them. They know that the message isn't a line. It's a lifeline. And the more often they throw it out, the more people can grab hold. And here's what you've got to understand. People don't need a new message. They need a louder echo of the right one, because real change doesn't happen the first time someone hears truth. It happens the first time they hear it and finally believe it applies to them. And that can take time, it takes repetition, so when you think they're tired of hearing it, say it again. When you think it's obvious, say it again. When you think they already know this, say it again. Because most people don't need new, they need reminded. They need to be reminded of who they are, reminded of what they're capable of, reminded of the mission, reminded of the standard, reminded of the vision. That's what leaders do. They remind people of the truth again and again and again until the truth becomes their identity. You can't do that with a one-time speech. You do that by building a rhythm. A cadence. A culture where the same values, the same principles, the same rally cry shows up everywhere. In how you talk, how you live, how you decide, how you train, how you serve. Because repetition creates clarity, and clarity creates alignment, and alignment creates momentum. Think about every powerful brand, every legendary team, every unforgettable movement. They all had a core message, and they never stopped shouting it. Because they understood the power of anchoring the mind. When people hear something over and over again, especially from someone they respected, bypasses logic and builds belief, it becomes internal, it becomes emotional. It becomes identity. That's the shift. It's not this is what we do. It's this is who we are. And that kind of internalization, that doesn't happen by accident. It happens through intentional, consistent, passionate repetition. So if you're tired of repeating yourself, good, you're doing it right. Because every time you repeat the message, you're strengthening the mission. Every time you repeat it, you're etching it deeper into the people around you. Every time you repeat it, you're pulling someone back from the edge of doubt and into the fire again. That's leadership. Leadership is not saying something brilliant once. It's saying something true so many times that it breaks through the walls people have built around their own potential. You repeat the vision until they can recite it. You repeat the standard until they raise theirs. You repeat the mission until they carry it like it's their own. You repeat the belief until their eyes start to shine with it. And here's where the average leader checks out. They get bored. They want to say something fresh. They chase attention with novelty instead of reinforcing the truth that moves people. Don't do that. Stay married to the mission. Stay loyal to the language that built your foundation, and let the message echo through your lifestyle, because repetition is not just about words, it's about witnessing. Let people witness you live the message. Let them see your habits match your speech. Let them see your actions confirm your words, Because the most powerful repetition is not what you say, it's who you are every single day. Let your life be the loudest sermon. Let your daily grind be the proof. Let your consistency speak volumes, louder than any motivational talk, louder than any catchy phrase. Because here's what happens when you show up with the same message, the same fire, the same discipline, day after day, year after year. People trust you. And trust is the currency of leadership. They trust that you won't quit. They trust that you mean what you say. They trust that you're not just hyped. You're anchored, and when they trust you, they'll follow you. Not blindly, not because they have to, but because they want to, because they believe in it too now, because your relentless repetition transferred the belief into them. That's when it becomes a movement. Not because it's loud, because it's clear, because it's true, because it's embedded in everything you do. But this takes courage. It takes patience. It takes humility. It takes saying the same thing when no one's clapping anymore. It takes speaking life into people who keep forgetting who they are. It takes standing in front of your team, your family, your community, and saying, "This is who we are. This is where we're going. This is why it matters, even if you said it yesterday, even if you'll say it tomorrow." Because that's what love looks like in leadership. Love shows up through consistency, and there's no greater form of love than belief expressed over and over again. That's what repetition really is. It's relentless belief in motion. It's saying, "I will not stop pouring this into you. I will not stop reminding you. I will not stop fighting for the mission inside your soul. Even when they forget, even when they fall, even when they push back." You stay the course. You repeat the message because the message isn't just about them. It's about you. It's about the life you were called to build. It's about the impact you were born to make. It's about honoring the gift you carry by never letting it fade. So say it again and again and again until they believe it, until they live it, until they become it. That's how legends lead. That's how movements begin. Not with a single explosion of greatness, but with a steady drumbeat of truth, played with fire, every day, relentlessly. You were not born to be casual. You were not built to walk through life at half speed, clocking in, clocking out, coasting through your days while the clock ticks louder and louder in the background. You were designed to move with urgency, to wake up every morning with that fire in your gut and that thunder in your chest saying, "There is no time to waste. There is no space for average. There is something I must do today that cannot wait until tomorrow." Because the great ones, the movement makers, the leaders that leave legacy behind long after they are gone, they don't live like they have forever. They don't wait. They don't dabble. They don't tiptoe through the window of opportunity. They kick the door down and run through it like their soul is on the line. Why? Because they understand one thing: urgency is not pressure, it's purpose in motion. It's the realization that now matters. That this moment matters, that they matter. You show me a leader who's changed lives, and I'll show you someone who moves fast with intention. Someone who acts boldly when others hesitate. Someone who lives like the mission depends on it. Because it does. They don't wait until they're ready. They don't wait for approval. They don't wait for everything to be perfect, because they know perfection is the enemy of momentum. They move anyway. They step out anyway. They speak up anyway, with passion, with energy, with everything inside of them, and that urgency, that passion, it's magnetic, because most of the world is asleep. Most people are crawling through life, sedated by comfort, silenced by fear, drowning in indecision. They don't need more tips. They don't need more logic. They need to see what it looks like when someone lives with full force conviction. That's you. That's your calling. To be the person who shows what it means to be on fire for something. To live like the clock is ticking, not in fear, but in fierce reverence for the time you've been given. To attack every day like it's sacred, because it is. You don't get this day back. You don't get this opportunity back. You don't get this conversation, this moment, this breath, ever again. And the world is starving for someone who lives like they know that. Someone who brings urgency to the room. Someone who brings passion to the mission. Someone who doesn't flinch, doesn't stall, doesn't play games with their calling. That kind of energy, that's the fuel of movements. Because when you live like that, you give others permission to live like that too. You wake them up, you shake them up, you light something in them that no speech ever could. It's not about what you say, it's about how you move, it's about the fire behind your steps, because movement is contagious. Action is contagious. Urgency is contagious. When you show people what it looks like to move like your dream is already real, they start to see it too. They say, if they can believe like that, maybe I can. If they can go all in, maybe I'm allowed to. If they can be that passionate, maybe I can wake up again. You're not just chasing success. You're leading a revolution of the soul, and that requires urgency, that requires passion, because passion isn't noise. It's intensity with a mission. It's showing up to the same room everyone else walks into, and shifting the energy by the way you walk, speak, carry yourself, not because you're better, but because you're clear. Clear on who you are, clear on why you're here, clear on what matters, and that clarity, it drives urgency, because when you know the mission is real, when you know people are counting on you, when you know your time is limited and precious, you don't waste it. You don't scroll your day away. You don't delay hard conversations. You don't wait for the mood to be right. You move, you act, you go, not recklessly, but relentlessly, because passion doesn't mean chaos. It means precision with fire. It means you're so focused on what matters that you refuse to be casual about it. Because what's casual gets lost. What's urgent gets done. Movements don't come from people who work when it's convenient. They come from people who decide to go. When it's hard, when it's scary, when it doesn't make sense. That's what passion is. It's your decision to care deeply, no matter what. And that kind of passion, it doesn't burn out because it's not emotional, it's intentional, it's not hype, it's honor. It's honoring the gift inside of you by refusing to keep it buried. It's honoring the calling on your life by moving like it's real. It's honoring the people you're called to serve by bringing your full self to the table, not just when it feels good, but especially when it doesn't. That's passion, that's urgency, that's leadership. And if you don't bring it, who will? If you don't lead with passion, how will they ever see what it looks like? If you don't act with urgency, how will they ever know the mission matters? You can't fake this. You can't borrow this. You've got to build it, and the only way to build it is to decide that your comfort is not the goal. Decide that someday is not on the calendar. Decide that your time, your energy, your voice, they count. And because they count, you're going to pour them into what matters. No more waiting, no more doubting, no more dragging your feet around the edge of the fire. Jump in. Let your actions be as loud as your dreams. Let your footsteps be as intense as your goals. Let your energy show the world that what you're building is not a hobby, it's a calling, and when you show up like that, when you act with urgency and passion, you start to move like a force of nature. You start to attract people who are ready. You start to build momentum that cannot be stopped. Not because it's easy, but because it's real. Because when you act with urgency, you don't need to convince people. They feel it. They feel it in the way you speak. They feel it in the way you lead. They feel it in the way you refuse to quit. That's how you build trust. That's how you build culture. That's how you build something worth remembering. So, here's the call. Stop waiting for the perfect plan. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for the world to give you permission. It's go time. It's time to move with urgency. It's time to live with passion. It's time to stop chasing ease and start chasing impact. Because you don't need more time. You need more intensity with the time you already have. And you don't need more information. You need more fire behind what you already know. You don't need more resources. You need to maximize what's already in your hand. That's what great leaders do. They don't wait for the stars to align. They move like the stars are already behind them. They lead like history is watching. They act like the world is counting on them. because it is, so decide today that you will live and lead like it matters, because it does. You matter, the mission matters, and time is running, so lead with urgency, live with passion, move like your legacy depends on it, because it does.